why don't you just kind of let people know what's going to happen, chat a little bit.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome to the Overland Park YouTube channel. I'm Lieutenant Tyler with the Overland Park Fire Department. This is a very special week. It's Fire Prevention Week, and we wanted to take a little extra time to share with you, our community, what the Overland Park Fire Department's all about. We're going to take you on a tour of our fire station, and we're currently at fire station number 3. So as people are joining us tonight, we want you to be in the chat as you hop on here. Ask us some questions. This is very interactive. We want to know what you want to know about. It's located right across from Deanna Rose Farmstead, if you know where that's at, about 138th and Schweitzer. And so we'll take you on a tour again at 6 o'clock this evening. So make sure you think about those questions, think about those fire safety questions. We'll be going over some important information with you that will be beneficial for you and your family, and things to think about during this fire safety week. So a couple things to think about. We're just making sure that things are working properly before we get kicked off here at 6 o'clock. This is one of our fire engines. We're going to take you on a tour of that fire engine. We're going to take you on a tour of that fire engine here in just a little bit. So very cool. You know, every fire station and looking to see how many fire trucks were in the station. This station normally has 3 fire trucks in it, but 2 of the fire trucks are busy right now. They're out on calls helping people in our community. So we have an empty bay here. Hopefully by the time this tour concludes, we'll get to show you both fire trucks, but they're out helping some people in our community. And that's an important part of what we do here at Overland Park. So this is our engine 43. It has a lot of capabilities that we'll talk about. We'll show you the inside of that fire engine. We'll show you what's inside the compartments and some of the important functions of the fire truck that we have here in Overland Park. Again, we'll get started with just a couple of minutes. It's almost 6 o'clock. We want to make sure that people have time to hop on. Grab yourself maybe a drink. This might go on for a little bit. We'll take you all around the fire station and show you all the cool things that we have to offer here at Overland Park. All right, well, once again, welcome to the Overland Park YouTube channel. I'm Lieutenant Tyler with the Overland Park Fire Department. We're going to take you on a tour of Station 43 today. We're located at about 138th and Schweitzer, right across from Deanna Rose Farmstead. And we want to show you all the cool things in the fire station. So let's go on in and let's take a tour of the fire station. Again, as we go through this tour today, we want this to be as interactive as possible. So if you have questions for me, make sure that you type them in the chat. Jason Rhodes is behind the camera today. He'll read those questions to me. So we're standing in the bay right now. We'll come back to the bay and go over the fire truck here in just a little bit, but this is basically like the garage in your house. This is where we keep our fire trucks. It's important that we keep our fire trucks warm, and the reason for that is because they have water inside of them. We can't have that water to freeze. So we're going to go on into the fire station. Come on in and check it out. So the first room I'm going to show you is what we call our day room. It's basically our living room. You have a living room in your house where you relax and watch TV. Obviously, it's a pretty empty day room right now because all of the firefighters here from this station, they're out on calls helping people at this moment. But we do have recliners and a place that we can relax. Sometimes we'll come into this room and do some training. We have a TV that we're able to use for our training purposes. We can watch training videos and we can learn things. So very important part of our firehouse. This is kind of where we get to know each other and get to hang out as we end our day, typically in the evening times. Another important part of being a firefighter is being physically fit and being physically active. So all of our fire stations have a gym inside of them. So this is our workout room. We have treadmills and ellipticals and weights, places for us to work out and exercise. It's an expectation here at the fire department that we work out at least an hour every single day that we're on shift, and most of us also work out on our days off to stay physically fit. Firefighting can be a very demanding job and a very physical job, so we have to make sure that we are fit and able to perform if there is a major emergency, or we have to carry someone, or we have to lift heavy things. So this is why we have the gym and the fire station. Well, come on out and we'll continue our tour. The day room once again. We also have a kitchen in our fire station and a dining room. This is our dining table where we eat our meals. So we are again here for 24 hours, and we typically eat 2 meals in the fire station. During the weekdays, it's a lunch and dinner in the fire station, and we all eat together as a team. We all throw our money in. You might see our fire trucks at the grocery store, and every single day we'll go do our shopping at the grocery store. This is Captain Tyler. I'm Lieutenant Tyler. That's Captain Tyler. He's over helping us this evening make sure that everybody has the food. We have spaghetti and meatballs on the menu for tonight. So we certainly try to be careful when we're cooking in the fire station. When we do get calls, we always have to make sure that we shut our burners off to make sure that we don't burn our food or have an accident or a fire here in the fire station. The other thing you'll notice is that we make sure that we turn our handles away. That way, if someone's walking by, we don't trip. Some important things that you might want to do at home as well to make sure that your house is safe. And again, if you have questions, yeah. One other thing that you might notice is the vent hood above. That helps us get the smoke out of as we're cooking. And we do have these cans as well. And these are available from our fire department. We've actually got these permanently mounted up here. But these are very important. These are basically fire extinguishers. If you do have a fire on the stovetop, this will auto deploy and it will throw powder out onto the stovetop and put the fire out. So if that's something you're interested in, we can certainly help you with that here at Overland Park Fire Department. We have these available for folks. But a couple things to think about on the stovetop, again, making sure that the handles are spun away so someone walking by doesn't knock off hot water, boiling water onto the floor. And then again, if you have to leave, make sure that you shut off your burners on your stovetop. If you do have questions, again, don't forget to chat in here. Jason's behind the camera. He'll read the questions to me, and we can answer any questions that you have. So again, another part of being healthy, in addition to working out, is also eating healthy. So you see a lot of vegetables here. We're going to have a salad with our spaghetti and meatballs tonight. And we do try to cook fairly healthy in the fire station. It doesn't always work, but we do the best that we can. So that's our kitchen. This is our living room. Firefighter Rodney just got back from a call. One other thing you might notice in our fire stations, just like you have at home, we have our smoke detectors. We recommend that you replace your smoke detectors every 10 years in your home. If they're over 10 years old, it's time to get new ones. They become more problematic, you'll get more false alarms, plus they become less effective. So every 10 years, replace your smoke alarms, and at least twice a year, replace your batteries. A good time to do that is when we change our clocks. That's coming up at the end of this month and the first part of November. So that weekend, always a good reminder, when you change your clocks, change your batteries. And then one other thing, make sure you test your smoke alarms. All your smoke alarms should have a test button on them. Make sure you're testing them on a regular basis.
What do you do when you hear that sound?
Yeah, so if you do hear that sound, make sure that you're getting out of your home and have a fire safety plan, an escape plan, and a way to get out. You want to make sure from all of your bedrooms, all of your floors of your home, you have a way to get out, and 2 ways in, 2 ways out is the best solution. And then make sure you have a meeting place outside of your house where your family's all going to meet up. And that way, if someone's missing, they'll know it. And when we pull up as firefighters, they can tell us that someone might be missing and we can go in and help get them out. So let's continue our tour of the fire station. One thing you'll see a lot of in our fire stations, one way that we get around town. There's a lot of streets in Overland Park, and we have to know all of the streets of Overland Park and how to get to your house if there's an emergency at your house. One way we do that is by studying the maps. This is a map of our district. We roughly run from 127th Street to the north, all the way down to about 150th Street to the south. To the east, we're over around Knoll, all the way over to Flum Road to the west. So we have a pretty big group of streets and a big area that we cover, and that's our first out response area. We have maps of the whole city because we get called to other parts of Overland Park as well. We'll keep walking back here. Talked about staying for 20 hours, and the question we often get is, well, do you sleep at the fire station? And we actually do. I've got a 6-year-old daughter, and she likes to call it Daddy's going to work for a sleepover. But we do get to sleep here when we're not busy, but we're expected to go on calls 24 hours a day. So at nighttime, we do get to lay down and get to take a rest as long as there's not calls or emergencies in our city. If we do have emergencies in our city, we will get up from here and we'll go out to the fire trucks and go on the emergency calls. But as you can see, it's just a very simple buck room. We have a little twin bed in here, and then we have lockers for the 3 crews. And we start talking about shifts. So Overland Park Fire Department has 3 shifts, A, B, and C shift. We call them battalions. And so today is the B battalion that's on duty. Tomorrow will be the C battalion. And we work a schedule where we work about 10 24-hour shifts a month in the fire station. So we're going to go back out to the bay and check out the fire trucks now and show you all the cool things out there. So come on. Again, don't forget that chat function. If there's a question that you have for us here at the fire station, we'd be glad to answer any questions that you have for us. The good news is the fire trucks that were gone are now back, so we can talk about them. The first one I want to show you is actually kind of a unique fire apparatus for us here. This is what we call ATV 43, or All-Terrain Vehicle 43. You can see it's a John Deere Gator that's been converted to a small fire truck. It provides us with the ability to help people that might be off the road who are hurt or injured. It has all of the medical supplies on it that we would need to respond to someone who maybe crashed a bike on a trail or is off-road in a place that we can't easily access. But you'll see all of our medical equipment up here. The green bags have all of our advanced life support medical equipment. Advanced life support means that we can do basically everything that an ambulance can do, except for take you to the hospital. And this ATV actually does have a little bed on it, a cot, just like you would see in the back of an ambulance. We keep it covered up just to keep it clean. But as you can see, if we needed to move somebody who was hurt or injured from off-road, we can lay them on this bed and then drive them to the ambulance. In addition to that, we have Squad 43. All of the apparatus here at this station, all the fire trucks, they're numbered 43 because that's our fire station number. You can see Squad 43 over here. We started using these several years ago because it's more efficient for us, or it's quicker for us, to be able to use a small pickup truck to get to a medical call. Bags. We have the same green bags on here, and in addition to that, we have a cardiac monitor, a heart monitor that we can use one's heart and make sure that it's working correctly. So that's Squad 43, and we'll take you over next to our engine. So we have 2 fire trucks here, and they look very similar, but it has one big difference. And then the big difference is up top on this fire truck. So an engine has a lot of capabilities. It has water on it. It has a pump that we can spray water out of fire hoses. Of course, has fire hose and equipment. But this truck has a ladder on top of it that will take you to the top of very tall buildings. An engine has some ladders on it, but it can only take you up a little ways. So we'll start up in the driveway around the truck and show you what it has on it. So the first place is the driver's area of the fire truck. The driver will walk up and turn on the main power to the fire truck and then turn on the ignition, and that powers everything up for the fire truck. And it's a lot like driving a car, other than it's a lot bigger. It sets a lot higher in the air, and it has a lot of buttons, as you can tell. So once you get up top, all of the buttons across the top, they control the lights, sirens. This truck has a lot of lights on it, emergency lights and lights that light up the neighborhood so we can see when we pull in. And then there are some other controls that we use to turn on the water pump on the fire truck. And this truck is a compressed air foam fire truck, meaning that it has foam and water capabilities. So those are some of the special controls that we use to turn on all of the equipment on this truck. When we staff this truck, it normally has 3 firefighters on it. It has a driver, and then it has a firefighter that rides in the back seat, and then it has an officer, or the person that's kind of in charge of the fire truck, a lieutenant or a captain. If we look in the back, we can have up to 6 firefighters on here, but that's pretty rare. Normally 4 would be the most that we would have. But there are 6 seats, 4 in the back and 2 up front. You'll notice flashlights and radios and the various equipment that we use. The other thing you might notice that's a little bit different is in the back seat, all of the seats have what we call our air packs. So they have a cylinder of air that we can actually breathe when we go inside of a fire. Again, we have to keep the bad smoky air out, the air that's bad for us. So we have these cylinders of air that sit in our seats, and we wear them a lot like a backpack. And I have Firefighter McKinney over on the other side. Once we get over there, we're going to have him dress out for you so you can see all the important equipment that we wear.
Tyler Rathie asked, when do you replace smoke alarms?
Every 10 years you should replace your smoke alarm. It's important to replace your smoke alarm every 10 years because they become less effective. And over the course of time, you'll tend to get more false alarms. And we just want to make sure that your smoke alarms are operating correctly in your home. So,
someone asked about how do you put out fires?
How do you put out fires? From our perspective, firefighters, we want to make sure that you guys get out because they don't have any right now. But we have various sizes of fire hoses. We have the big fire hoses that we use to connect to our fire hydrants. You might notice on your corners there's fire hydrants out in your front yard. That's how we get water from into our fire trucks that we will use to spray out of our fire hoses. But as you can see, the hoses are pretty flat right now. That's because they don't have any water in them. And when we turn on the truck and we open up the different valves, that's how we get water from our fire truck or the fire hydrant back into these hose lines. But we have the smaller ones are the ones that we will take inside of a house to put out a fire. Some of the bigger ones, again, are the ones that we use to get water from the fire hydrant to our fire trucks. So this is one area we keep hoses, and then I'll show you some other areas on the truck that we do as well.
A little bit of signal here.
Okay. So really quick, this is our pump panel. These are all the levers that we use to get water out of our fire truck and spray them out of our fire hoses. So let's go to the other side of the fire truck real quick. We'll walk around the front. We talked about other areas that we have fire hoses. We have another fire hose on the front of the truck. You can also see this one's flat because it does not have water in it right now. But what we keep on the end of a fire hose is a nozzle. And the nozzle is how we turn water on and off. So if this hose had water in it, we would pull this spray out of the fire hose. What we use to get water out of the fire truck and onto the fire. So going over to this side, this is where the officer or the boss of the fire truck sits. You can look in this area. One thing that you might not realize on our fire trucks is that we have computers. And we use the computers for a couple reasons. One, it gives us a lot of information about the call. So if you call 911, tones will go off in our fire station and they will tell us what kind of emergency we're going to. And then once we get to our fire truck, we're able to click on the call on our computer and it will tell us what kind of an emergency we're going to, and it will give us more details about it. It also gives us information, including a map, that will show us exactly how to get to your house. So we can use this, just much like the mapping function on your phone, to be able to get to an emergency. Another thing you'll notice too is we keep all of our equipment ready to go. So we want to get to your house as quickly as possible, so you can see that we have all of our equipment laid out for us. Our boots are on the floor typically, with our pants wrapped around our boots so we can pull them up quickly. We have our fire coats. We have a hood that protects our ears and our head. And then somewhere in the truck we'll have our helmet. And this is Firefighter Donnie. We're going to let him get dressed out for you and kind of show you what it looks like to get ready to go on an emergency. So the first thing we're going to do is take off of our regular shoes that we would be wearing around our firehouse. We'll put on our boots. And as you can see, his pants are wrapped around his boots. Then he'll pull on the suspenders. It's helpful to keep your pants from falling down. And there's an additional belt there that you can cinch up tight. The next thing he's going to put on is his hood, and his hood will protect his ears and head eventually. But typically we'll slide that back down around our neck until after we get our coat on. So the next thing he'll do is put on his coat and get it all zipped up. Again, if you have questions, don't forget that chat function there. We'd be glad to answer any questions you have. He'll get zipped up, and you'll notice that all of our zippers have an extra flap on them. It gives us an extra layer of protection. And then there is a collar that goes around his neck that protects his neck as well. The next thing he's going to put on is what we call our air pack. Again, we talked about this special backpack. They're mounted in the seats of our fire truck. Typically, we'll put this on as we're driving down the road. Getting a little tangled up there. We'll get it. So this backpack has straps on it.
Thank you.
And he'll cinch that up tight. And then there's a waist belt that goes around. You might notice that it looks a lot like a seatbelt in your car. Make sure you're wearing your seatbelts in your car to keep you safe as well. He'll get that strapped on. If he'll turn around for me, we can look at this cylinder. So this is just a bottle full of air that we keep on our back. Again, when we go into a smoky environment, we want to make sure that we're breathing fresh, clean air. So there's fresh, clean air, just like you and I are breathing right now inside of this cylinder. And what'll happen is he'll put a mask on his face, but the air goes from this cylinder all the way up through a hose on his shoulder, and it will connect to his face piece. He's grabbing his face piece now. He'll pull the straps tight. And one last thing that we do is to make sure that it has a good seal. So he'll put his hand up and he'll try to suck in. And as he sucks in, everything should be tight and no air should be able to get into his mask. Remember that hood that he put on and he put down around his shoulders? We're going to pull that up tight around his face piece. So when this is all said and done, the only skin that you should see is the skin through his mask, right around his face. We want to make sure that his ears and the back of his head is completely protected.
Somebody wants to know if that gear is heavy and if it makes a lot of noise if it's loud.
Yeah, we'll get to that. It is heavy. So all of our gear, when we get it on and we have the equipment that we need, it's about 50 pounds. He's putting on his helmet now, and he has a strap that will go around here. The other thing that you might not think about is how hot the gear can be. So even on the hottest days of the summer, we wear the exact same fire gear because it protects us. It has several layers to protect us. It's got an outer shell and it's got an inner liner. And the way that that works is this material is very special. It takes a lot of heat for it to catch on fire. So it protects our firefighters. And then we have that inner shell that we call a vapor barrier. That way when we're spraying water, steam doesn't burn our skin or our bodies. So the next thing he's going to do is turn on his air cylinder in the back, and we're going to hear a little beep. It'll go beep, beep, beep. Did you hear the 3 beeps? So all of our air packs, they have a special device built into them that we call a pass device, and that protects our firefighters. So if a firefighter goes down and can't move or is hurt or is injured, it's kind of like having an angry bird on your shoulder. That bird gets louder and louder and louder until it's really mad and is making a lot of noise. But that's good for firefighters because that lets the other firefighters know that one of our fellow firefighters is hurt or injured or can't move. So he's not going to move for a second. We're going to hear that angry bird. It's going to get a little bit louder and a little bit louder until it gets really mad, and make sure that everybody in that fire knows. So it's kind of getting louder. You kind of hear the beeping sound. And it gets louder again. And the firefighter can clear it if he's okay and not hurt. But if that firefighter's trapped or injured, we're going to have that on, and that will help fellow firefighters find him if he's fallen down and gotten hurt. So the next thing he's going to do is he's going to go on air. So he's going to start breathing the air that's in the cylinder that's on his back, or the tank that's on his back. So he'll click in, and you can kind of hear that sound. He sounds a little bit funny. And when he talks, he's going to be very muffled in the way he talks. Can you say something, Donnie?
Hi, how are you guys doing?
So as you can see, he's a little bit hard to hear. If a firefighter's coming in to help you, they may be yelling for you. Fire department, is anybody in here? Fire department, is anybody in here? But he's going to sound a little bit different. And you also hear him breathe. Every time he takes a breath, you can hear that hissing sound. So I'm going to let you listen to the hissing sound just for a second. And then what would it sound like if you were yelling for somebody inside?
Hello, is anybody in here? The fire department.
So this is nothing to be scared of. This means that someone is here to help you. The fire department is here to take care of you and make sure that you're okay. So if you're trapped inside and you hear a firefighter like this, don't hide. Don't be scared. He's there to help you. And we want your help back too. So if you hear us, hey, I'm over here, that will help us find you, because it could be dark and it could be smoky and it might be a little bit scary. We talked about his helmet. His helmet protects his head. That way, if anything falls on top of him, he is protected. But this is what a firefighter is going to look like when he goes inside. Again, he's completely protected. He's got gloves on his hands that protect his hands. He has the coat on, the pants, the boots. Everything is made to protect the firefighter. So this is what a firefighter will look like. We appreciate Firefighter Donnie's help.
My pleasure.
So I'll take you on the tour of the rest of the fire truck. Just like on the other side, this is where the hoses are kept. Again, don't forget that chat function. If you have questions, hop right in there. We want to make this as interactive as possible and answer all of your questions. Just like on our other vehicles that we showed you, our medical equipment, all of our fire trucks are able to help people who are sick or injured. So we have the same medical equipment on here. And then once we move back on our fire trucks, we have a lot more tools. So we have additional fire hoses. This is something that we might use if a tall building was on fire. We call this a high-rise pack. So a firefighter, with all that heavy gear that he's wearing, the 50 pounds of gear, he might have to grab this hose as well, which is another 30 or 40 pounds, to carry up several flights of stairs to be able to go help someone or put out a fire up high in a building. So there's a lot of things that we do. We keep a lot of tools on our doors that will help us to disconnect hoses. These are called spanner wrenches. As we move back in the truck, this is what I kind of call our break-it compartment. A lot of times, to be able to get into a building that's locked, or if there's a fire and we can't get through the door, we have to use tools to break that door. So we keep various things. We have axes. We have this tool that we call a Halligan bar, and this is really good for prying. It has a very sharp point on it, and it has the forked ends, and then it has what they call the adze. And this, we can get into a door jamb, and we can bend it and break it and make sure that we can get into a house that might be locked or a way that we can't get in. And just like our axe, we have another tool. This one, it's kind of got a funny name. We call it the pig. It's not a very pretty tool, but it can break things, and it does a really nice job of breaking things. So even got a little pig on it. The other thing about the firehouse, we always want to make sure that we put things back exactly where we found them, because the next person might need to make sure that they know exactly where it is. So we all memorize where stuff is on our fire trucks. That way, if we need it, we know exactly where to go. So we want to make sure that we get everything put back correctly after every call. This compartment we use for extrication. So these are the tools, and a lot of people still refer to them as the jaws of life. So these are the tools that we would use to get into a car. If there was a bad car accident and people were not able to get out, we can use these special tools to open doors or make a car into a convertible. We can take the roof completely off of a car with these tools. They're pretty heavy, and they have hoses that attach to them. I'll grab one out of here. This is our cutter tool. So if we need to cut something, you can see that it has a big claw that's very sharp. And we're able to cut the roof off of a car if we need to. Again, these tools are also heavy. They weigh probably 50 or 60 pounds. And again, going back to the fitness thing, we all do have to be pretty strong to be firefighters. And then a lot like the cutters, we have another tool that we call a spreader. So you can see this one doesn't have the claw shape. This one has a point on it. And so we're able to use this to pry a door open or spread a door open. On fire and there's smoke, the smoke rises, so get us up in the attic space. And we'll use this to cut a big hole in the roof, and that way the smoke can escape. And one other tool that we use to get smoke out of a house or a building if it was on fire is a fan. And all of our fire trucks carry very powerful fans. This one, it has a motor much like a lawnmower on it. So when we turn this fan on, it blows a lot of air. Again, don't forget to ask questions. If you do have questions, use that chat function. And Jason behind the camera will ask me the questions and we'll get right to them. So that's the engine. The engine and the ladder truck that we have, we call it a quint because it does 5 main things. The quint has a big ladder on top of it. That's one thing. It has water inside of it. It has fire hose on it. It has a pump. And it has ground ladders and hose. So those are the 5 things. It has ground ladders, it has an aerial ladder, it has hose, it has pump, and it has water. Those are the 5 things that a quint must have to be a quint. So you'll notice it's a little bit longer than our other fire truck, our engine.
Somebody asked how tall is the ladder?
So the tallest ladder that we have is 100 feet in Overland Park. It's at Station 4. But this ladder at Station 3 is 75 feet tall. So if you think about most houses are 10 feet per story, this will go up about 7.5 floors on a building when it's fully extended and all the way up in the air. So this is also one of our newest fire trucks in Overland Park. We've only had this truck for about 2 months now. It's probably our prettiest fire truck in Overland Park, in my opinion. This is one that I actually got to be involved in making. So when we buy a fire truck, it takes almost 2 years from the time that we say we want to buy a fire truck to the time that it's delivered, because they make it custom for us. The factory makes it to our specifications just the way that we want it. So we just got this truck in service not too long ago, and it's much like the other truck. It's got all of the same equipment. It's just a little bit longer and a little bit taller because it has the ladder on top of it. One thing I didn't show you on the engine is where we keep our other long tools and our ladders. So we keep some additional ladders in here. We have the ladder on top, the big 75-foot ladder, but we also keep a 24-foot ladder on here, a 35-foot ladder on here, and then we keep some specialty ladders. This is one of my favorite ladders. We call it an attic ladder. Let's see if I can get it out. The funny part is it doesn't look much like a ladder at all, but it's nice because it can get us into very tight spaces. But it folds out and becomes a ladder. And this one's 10 feet tall. So we'll use this to get into an attic space of a home. We'll close these up. This is one other tool that people ask about a lot, or you see a lot in the fire service. This is called a pike pole. So this is a long tool that we would use to poke holes in ceilings. That way, if there's a fire in the attic, we can pull the sheetrock down or the ceiling down and make sure that the fire is out. Again, don't be afraid to ask questions. If you do have questions for us, put them in the chat and we'll get to them. Let's go around to the other side of the truck. So again, we talked about all of the things. This one's very similar. It will seat about the same number of people. We normally have 3 people assigned to this truck. One thing that's a little bit unique about this is we might use this to help someone that's caught on a roof. So if someone is stuck up on a roof, we might use the ladder to lower them down. If you look up top behind the word Overland Park, Kansas, you'll see that orange thing there. We call that a Stokes Basket. That's a basket that we could use if someone was hurt or injured up high. We can use that to lay them inside of it and use the ladder to lower them down to the ground. And again, this truck has very much the same equipment that the other trucks have. One other thing that's a little bit unique about Overland Park is we have a chief that's here every single day. So behind you is, you might see this vehicle on the road. It looks like an SUV. So this one's a Chevy Tahoe, but we will see these running around town, and these are our chiefs that respond to calls. They are the chiefs that are in command of a fire. So if there's a fire that's going on right now, we'll one, be in charge of the fire and make sure all the one's safe on the fire ground. So Battalion 46, battalion stands for Battalion Chief. And much like their vehicles, this has got the computer in it. It's got radios that they can communicate with other firefighters and our dispatch. And then in the back, you'll see that the fire chief keeps his gear back here. They wear bunker gear just like every other firefighter does that keeps them safe on the fire. Helmets and boots. And so you might wonder what we do with our coats, helmets, and boots when we're not on the fire truck. So you see we keep them beside the fire truck when we're on duty and we're ready to respond to a call. But there are firefighters that work at this station that aren't here today. So much like your school, we have lockers here at the fire station that we're able to keep our equipment in when we're not here at the fire station. So we have a wall of lockers here. We'll find one for a firefighter that's not here today. So this firefighter's off duty today, and you can see that they have all of their stuff stored in the locker and ready to go. So when they come into shift tomorrow, the first thing that they do when they get here at 8 o'clock is get all of their gear out of their locker and put it in the position of where they're going to ride on the fire truck that day. So if they're the driver, they put it by the driver's seat, or if they're the firefighter that's riding backwards, we call it riding backwards when you ride in the back seat because some of the seats face backwards. If you're in the back seat of the fire truck, they'll put it right beside the fire truck and have it ready to go. Well, that's it. That's a tour of Station 43. Appreciate you coming along today for the ride. I hope you learned some things. Again, Fire Safety Week, very important. A couple main things. We want to make sure that you're checking your smoke detectors, make sure that they work, replace them after 10 years. We want to make sure that when the time changes, we are making sure that those batteries get switched in all of the smoke detectors in your home. Make sure you have an exit plan and a strategy to get out of your house in case it's on fire. You make sure you have 2 ways out and a meeting place outside. If you have any questions for the Overland Park Fire Department, we're always here for you. Stop by one of the stations or reach out to us. Thanks for joining us today.